Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to come spend a little bit of time with us this morning in historic downtown Ybor City, which is really the heartbeat of a lot of great things that have occurred in Tampa's history. We've already seen some folks start making their way here to the Italian Club in Ybor City to learn about what we're talking about today and why we've all gathered together. The Citrus County Sheriff's Office is proud to partner with a lot of law enforcement agencies from around the state and our other partner entities from around the state and indeed from around the country to be able to bring this event to Tampa and to collaborate with all of the professional partners who are invested in helping us identify the missing folks, the folks who may have been murdered over the course of the time that has passed for many decades, and to help some families bring justice to them and their loved ones who went missing or who were murdered. Various law enforcement agencies from the medical legal field with the Florida Institute of Forensic Anthropology and Applied Science at the University of South Florida are with us today. In fact, Dr. Erin Kimmerly is with us, and she's standing here with me at the podium. And we're going to take some questions in a few minutes. But more importantly, what's going to take place downstairs is there's agencies from around the state that will take law enforcement reports and gather new information, and we'll also do some DNA genealogical testing as well to get that information into some databases which have upgraded significantly over the course of time, and thanks to some new innovations from the scientists that are out there like Dr. Kimmerly. According to the National Crime Information Center, there are 93,718 active missing person records in the United States of America. Right here in the state of Florida, we have over 3,200 individuals entered into the missing and endangered databases with the National Crime Information Center's database, and over 900 John or Jane Doe cases that are sitting right now on the books here in the state of Florida. Public engagement for events like this and other things that we do across the state, for example, like the Cold Case Advisory Commission meetings, is absolutely crucial to bringing folks together to help us solve some of these cold cases and to bring that type of information to the forefront so that we can get these people who committed these crimes behind bars, and then more importantly, we can let the family members know truly what happened in the case of their loved one when they were murdered or they were found dead under some suspicious circumstances. Our mission today is truly to help folks and get those cases resolved, and we need your help. If you have any information whatsoever about a cold case, even though you might not think it connects exactly up the way law enforcement can use it, we want to talk to you. We want to get you in front of one of our detectives so we can ask some questions and we can get some documentation about some new material that you might have access to that was not part of the case file when the case was originally opened. I want to thank Dr. Kimmerly for doing everything that she could to really be the catalyst behind this effort today, because we've been talking about this for quite some time, and it's over a year's worth of effort that Dr. Kimmerly and I have been talking about to put all of the pieces together to bring this event to Tampa and then to get in front of as many people as we possibly can so that we can help these families solve these mysteries and then get these cases finally adjudicated in a format that everybody is really proud of the work that we can say thank you, and the families can then go on with their lives knowing exactly what happened with their loved one. The Cold Case Advisory Commission, it's been around since 2015. We do yeoman's work across the state. We offer training like we're going to do some presentations here today, right here in this very room as a matter of fact. And we tackle the challenges that some of these cases that you see before you need to be tackling so that we can re-engage and review the facts and then put a new set of eyes on some of the facts that were previously documented in these case files. The Cold Case Advisory Commission doesn't solve these cases. Detectives with their boots on the ground, men and women from law enforcement and men and women from the forensic professions that are out there help us solve these cold cases. And we simply just can't do it all on our own. So that's why it's critical that events like this take place far more frequently and in different locations from around the state. Our next step in overcoming obstacles with solving cold cases is to promote these annual events like this. And not only do we want to have the families that are out there bring their photographs, we also want them to bring prior police reports. If they've discovered some medical or dental records for their loved one that might be missing, that were locked up for a long time somewhere or found in a box or found in an attic or in a garage, we want them to bring those type of records with them as well today. And of course, if they have any other information that might help us, you just never know what fabric of information will help us bring closure on a case like this. So if there's more family members out there that have an opportunity to come out here, we want to get their DNA as well so that we can enter that in and compare that to some of the things that we've got. And we'll talk more later today about some of these cases in greater detail. But I'd like to now turn the microphone over to Dr. Kimberly, and again, once again, to thank her and our partners at the University of South Florida for everything they've done to bring us together today, to put this on the map in Tampa, and to make this a recurring event going well into the future. Dr. Kimberly?
Thank you. Well, good morning. Thank you for joining us. We're very excited to be here. It's been a year of planning. The last time we did an event like this was 2016, and so it's very long overdue. The goal and purpose of an event like today is really to engage the public. As the sheriff said, we want to help those families who have especially long-term missing loved ones get the resources and access that they need. There's a heavy burden on families and people in that situation to know how to talk to the media, to how to get public help. The number one way in which missing children are found safe and well is by advo cards, the fact that somebody recognizes a picture. And so when we've done similar events to this, like the Art of Forensics over the years where we showcase facial reconstructions, we always get people coming in, and it might be the case where featuring's resolved, but sometimes it's another one. Sadly, there are thousands of others in the queue, and so the way in which we can start to bring those up to current standards and have a positive impact is to know who we're looking for and start to make some of those connections. So that's what today is about. We hope that those who need it can come in and get the resources that they need. There's a free DNA drive for families of missing persons who want to take advantage of genealogical testing. It's the new method that's really transforming these types of identifications. And we have a great lineup of speakers as well. Some of them are families who are sharing their experience having navigated the system for a number of years, and then others from NGOs who provide different types of victim assistance. So thank you, and I guess if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
So is today kind of two-part, both dealing with solving missing persons and, if there's a cold case where you may believe it's a homicide, so kind of two-part, if that makes sense?
It is, and one of the things I'll just say that's always been our approach is that, and maybe this comes from a research perspective as an academic, but a lot of times these cases intersect. On the one hand, you have long-term missing persons, are unidentified are missing persons. It's just that they're not in the system. That's why we can't make a match. And so we approach this as let's tackle it not as individual silos, but collectively. Many of the long-term cases are also open homicides, which that part of the investigation is stuck until that we know who the victim is. So we're trying to reach a number of different audiences, with that understanding that in a lot of ways they interconnect.
How would you explain the importance of the little details, like just having those dental records or medical records or DNA, like just having that one thing can crack the case?
The amazing leaps forward in science have really been enormously beneficial. We can't exaggerate how important the DNA science is, and the great work that Dr. Kimberly and her team have done over the course of the past decade plus here in the state of Florida to help law enforcement. And every one of these pieces of evidence that we put together, they all at some point or another will come to a place where they coalesce and allow us to say that dot connects with this dot, and then that piece of information over here is linked to the DNA from somebody that we got their DNA at the event down in Tampa. So we just don't know. And that's part of the science and the art really involved when it comes to law enforcement. There's a whole host of work. I've got my chief of detectives here with me today, and his team has a number of cold cases in Citrus County. Some of them are homicides. Some of them are for missing persons. Some of those cases go back for more than 5 decades in our county. And I dare say that every one of the counties across the state of Florida has some similar cases like that. So you don't know what you don't know until the science catches up with what you might have collected 50 years ago in an evidence file, and then all of a sudden it clicks like that and things come together. So that's why it's so important that we reach out, we throw a big net and try and gather as much information and put the facts together. And then what's really beneficial too is to take folks that bring a fresh perspective into these case files and allow them to look at this. And we had a case up in Flagler County that we reported on just a few months ago when we were up in Flagler County having the Cold Case Advisory Commission meeting up there. And this case goes back decades, and it was based upon a new detective taking a hard look at the facts that were already gathered together and then putting a presentation together and then doing some facial reconstruction and building a model. And then we go, hey, somebody recognized that model just like these right here that you see on this table and said, I think I know who that person is. They sent a photo in and they started putting the data together. And then once we did the news conference up there in Flagler County, a whole bunch of things from South Florida, the Miami-Dade County area, emerged about this individual, and we've been able to find other family members that were related to that individual who was murdered back in Flagler decades ago.
When you mentioned like 5 decades ago, what message do you have for families that you guys will not stop until you figure it out?
It's never too late. That's my message. It is never too late to get information before law enforcement and before the scientists that are out there studying these things to help families achieve justice for the victims of these crimes and to help families move on with their lives in an enormously better way, knowing that we have the person who may have murdered their son or daughter, their spouse, or another family member is going to go to jail, or that they're never going to commit a crime like that again. And that's why we're so passionate about this, is because we care. We want the families to know that we care. And sometimes we just have to be patient because the facts will reveal themselves one day and you just never know when they're going to come together.
Dr. Kimberly, what is the most recent technology that you're seeing as you try to piece together some of these cases, some of the more helpful newer technology?
Well, I think the biggest, if you call it innovation, but the biggest game changer is the genetic genealogy. If you just, look at national headlines every day, there's cases getting solved all over the country using that, whether it's an unidentified person or just other DNA evidence in cold case, and that's the way that it's getting resolved. So I think that it has huge potential. It's really kind of at the beginning of that technology and that application. As more agencies use it, as hopefully the costs will come down, and as more can access it, I think it will make the biggest impact on cold case that anything has.
But there's another thing that's out there too that's very critical to us. There are electronic signatures out there for every piece of technology that's a part of our lives today. And when we can harvest that data and compare that data to the known facts involved in a case, it helps us connect dots together. And we've got a missing person up in Citrus County, and we're still working our way through the data that was available from the electronics that this lady had in her vehicle. Her vehicle was discovered in Yankeetown. We haven't found her yet. But the electronic signature of the things that she had with her may give us some very explicit clues that might help us find out exactly what happened with this lady that is missing. And she's in her 70s. She's loved by her family. She's missed dearly by her families. And we want that family to know what happened to her. So there's literally 3,200 plus cases like that in Florida. And there's 900 plus John and Jane Does in Florida. And those people's families, as well as those victims, they deserve to know what happened to their loved ones.
Can you guys explain what exactly goes into creating these facial approximations, the process, and those molds? I don't know what you guys do to come up with them.
Right. So we offer we have a number of different artists that work with us that will do facial reconstruction. So in the past, we did some workshops specifically with clay sculptures, and we showcased those in the process at prior events called the Art of Forensics. And so the busts that are here are from those prior events. One has been solved, the rest remain open. And then the composite images, like what you see in these posters, are digital composites that either I do myself or another artist who works with us has contributed to. And basically what we do is we start with the skeletal remains. These are John and Jane Doe, so we start with the skeletal remains. We do a full analysis, how old were they when they died, what's their ancestry. We read through all of the original first responder, detective notes, because there maybe information in there about clothing or hair. We try to pull out all that information, and then we use the skeletal anatomy, and that's what we basically digitally draw a face over. The more information we can get out of those old reports, or sometimes newspapers used to publish everything, all kinds of details, like autopsy photos, things that are not available, publicly today. But going back, we read a lot of old historic newspapers and get that information, and it just helps with the context. You think about, did the person get up and shower that morning? What was their hair like, or were they not? So things like that can help, I think, make a more accurate facial reconstruction, and hopefully someone recognizes something about the face, about the person, about the story. And if not, we're featuring 6 cases here that are relatively new facial reconstructions we've done, but nearly 1,000 more. So hopefully this will get those folks in to talk about either these cases or any one of the others.
Sure. And when you have all of these reconstructions, digital images, do you think there are people out there who don't realize that they may have the one piece of information, whether it's genealogical information or DNA or something, that they may have that one piece of information that can connect their missing relative to one of these cases?
Absolutely. We get those cases all the time, and it's how well can we communicate the message that science is working very hard in partnership with law enforcement, but there's other bits and pieces that are out there that we need to be that missing link in the chain that allows us to put everything together and then ultimately go and say, we know who that is. We can put a name, we can put a date of birth, we can put the last place that they lived all together, and then we can go out and follow up with that and perhaps find neighbors, family members, acquaintances, and colleagues that people may have worked with over the course of their time here in the state of Florida or somewhere else in the country. And the advances in the genetic genealogy, she's very modest and humble, but the science behind all of this is absolutely amazing. And the folks that are here from some of these different organizations, like Project Cold Case and NamUs, just to talk about a few of them, they're all instrumental in helping us to get this data together and to put science and law enforcement on the same pages, and then allow us to work collaboratively to figure out what the next step is so that we can solve these cases.
Yeah, I would just add that I think your role, the media's role in being able to reach the public is the missing link for a long time, and certainly with good reason. But law enforcement investigations tend to be very quiet. They don't broadcast all the details and put that information out there. Yet in these cases, there is a lot that can be shared, and that's what I tell the students and everything too. Like, we could show this picture to 1 million people, but if it's not the one person who knows her and is looking for her, it's not going to make that impact. So how do you find that person? And you really have to try to reach everybody that you can and share it as broadly as you can, because someone out there knows them and knows what happened.
Dr. Kemmerly, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the Dozier School. It's related to this in the respect and the process of justice, really. Mm-hmm. And I know in your book, as of the publication of your book, no memorial had been established or begun. Can you tell me the status of that? Can you tell me where we're at and what's happening?
Yeah, the memorial for the White House, what happened to boys that were taken there for the Dozier School, and those that were reburied at the Boot Hill location in Mariana, opened in January, and it's a very moving, actually very powerful monument. So I would encourage you, if you're in that area, to stop in there. They have plans to build a museum in what had been the dining hall, and I think that's at the very early stages of that. But the monument itself outside the White House is there and quite impactful.
In Tallahassee, or like,
In Mariana.
no,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tallahassee. There was talk that Tallahassee would also have has that gone forward?
I don't know the status of that. Most of those boys who remained unidentified were buried in Tallahassee. Only those who died in the fire, the dormitory fire, were reburied in Mariana. I believe they've done the same sort of like grave markers in both locations, but I haven't been to the one in Tallahassee yet.
So here's what I'd like to conclude with. If you or someone you know has a contact that has gone missing in the state of Florida, today's your opportunity to come together with us, come together with the scientists, come together with the law enforcement professionals and all the other stakeholders that are out there trying to help families understand what happened to their loved one. We are here all day today, but we are available in our home counties and our home municipalities 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you have any information whatsoever about a missing person or a cold case in the state of Florida, please reach out to your local law enforcement as soon as you possibly can. Get that information into the hands of detectives. And then if you can't get what you need, you reach out to the Citrus County Sheriff's Office, and we'll get it in front of the Cold Case Advisory Commission for the Florida Sheriff's Association, and we'll do what we can to energize our law enforcement partners to bring this family justice that they need for their missing loved one who may have been murdered or may have just disappeared off the face of the earth and evaporated, and there's no trace whatsoever. There is facts out there, and we want to get those facts in front of the right hands and the right eyes by the professionals that are working these cases tirelessly to help these families. God bless you all for being here. Thank you, and we'll talk to you later on. Please spend some time talking to the folks downstairs. Thank you.